full page announcements right now. This is a good month. All right. So we are in the book of Ecclesiastes, and this is week 5, I believe, in a series that we're calling Under the Sun, which is a quote directly from the book. And this is a book unlike other books of the Bible. So many of the books of the Bible kind of help us explore our connection to God and that interaction. This book, however, is basically detailing what life is like without God. So if life is disconnected from God, or if there is no God, this is what we're left with. And so that really is the sadness of the book, because there is no life without God. So this is the author talking about personally his exploration, his testing of the theory, what would life be without God? And so he is chasing every avenue that one would chase to see if that in and of itself would be a suitable replacement or fulfill him in some way, shape, or form. So he's talking about all these different ways that humanity, human beings, try to fill the void that only God can fill. And so he's talked about trying to fill it with wisdom and knowledge, which is a major Jesus substitute. If you're honest, if you've lived at any time on this planet, you see that people really put a lot of eggs in the basket of their own intellect in human understanding, human knowledge. In fact, a lot of folks will talk about knowing things and being enlightened and diminish Christianity and faith, and like that's little piddly stuff. I am elevated and I'm enlightened. And he's saying, the wisest guy on the planet, saying there's nothing there. It's all just chasing the breeze. So there's nothing to it. He talks about wealth and having things and possessions. He talks about just living to have fun, just living for entertainment, living for just enjoying life. The emptiness of that, how it doesn't lead to fulfillment. He talks about human relationships. He talks about work, which we talked about last week, his interaction and connection with work and what he does. The search, no matter what it is, has come up empty for him. And he's explored every avenue, and so nothing is working. And so that's why this book is sad, because it kind of leaves you hopeless. Having tried everything, he found that nothing under the sun can fill the void. If I were to come up with the shortest books that could ever be written, I would say that the two shortest books that would probably barely fill up a page, it would be a pamphlet, it would be a mailer, it would be a postcard. Two of the shortest books would be Handyman Tips from Chris Stapleton. You don't want that one. In fact, if I tell my wife, honey, I'm going to hang this picture, she'd say, why don't you call your dad? I say, I can hang a picture. And then there's holes in the wall everywhere. It looks like Swiss cheese. And then I'm crying on the floor. And the picture's not hung. And then I'm calling my dad. So anyway, she's right. So that would be a very short book. Another short book would be Encouraging Words from Ecclesiastes. That would be a very long book. But if one were to write it, it would feature a beautiful verse, specifically this one. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. And this is a beautiful verse, and it's so true. But this is what it says. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Maybe you've heard that before, but it's encouraging. If you sit with it, if you ponder it, it's an encouraging statement. In fact, it's so encouraging, I would like to spend a couple weeks talking about it. And what we're going to do today is talk about what's said leading up to this verse. So we're going to read some very familiar verses that you've probably heard in a moment. And then next week, I want to talk about what's said after this verse. And so, but we're going to kind of make this the theme for the next couple weeks. But that statement, he has made everything beautiful in its time. As bad as it may seem now, God is a redeemer. He's a reconciler. He specializes in taking ashes and making beauty out of them. And so he makes everything beautiful in its time. So this is what's said leading up to that statement. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. Again, you've probably heard these verses before. I'm sure you have. This is just verses 1 through 8. This is how it goes. For everything there's a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear, a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. This might be the most well-known part of this book. It was made famous. This section was made famous. It was actually made into a song. The Byrds sang, "For everything there's a season, turn, turn, turn." And it's a song got pretty popular in the 60s. And these pretty lyrics are Solomon reminding us that at the end of the day, our level of control is very limited. And that's really what's being said here, is for everything there's a time and there's a season, but you're not in control of that time or that season. You don't make the time. You don't make the season. You're subject to it. And so he's illuminating our lack of control. We can't control everything. We can't always control what happens to us, and we can't always control when it happens to us. Ultimately, we're not entirely in control of our circumstances or outcomes of things. We would love to think we are. We'd like to act like we are, but we're just not. If you think about it, and this is my thought this week, I was just sitting with this, pondering what's being said here. This is the wisest, wealthiest, most famous, powerful man on the planet. And that person is acknowledging that he's in control of very little, if anything. This is a guy, if there's one guy on the planet at that time who was in control of more than everybody else, it's him. And he's saying, I'm not in the driver's seat here. In fact, I would say this, he's graciously going first throughout this whole book. He's offering himself as the sacrificial lamb. This whole experiment is so that he can show you, the reader, that I've already explored that avenue and it doesn't lead anywhere. I've already gone there and it's a dead end. It's not even worth you trying because I've already tried it. So he's graciously going first, and he's very honest. He really started this whole conversation about the emptiness and the vanity of trying to find fulfillment in this world. He started it with something that is probably most dear to him, and that's his wisdom. It's what he's known for. It's what he's associated with. He wrote Proverbs. This is who he is. And he leads with that and says, wisdom equates to nothing. And he's saying the very thing that you define me as is empty and vacant and pointless. So he's gone first. He's been the sacrificial lamb. And so here he is graciously going first and admitting and acknowledging, you might think I'm powerful, you might think I'm wise, you may be jealous of my riches, but I'm not in control of anything. And I think he's doing this over and over and over so that we would also follow suit and examine our own hearts and our own lives and realize I'm not really in control either. If there's a vice that would be the most glaring one that I have, I've got a lot of shortcomings, more than I could even list. And I would say the most glaring, or of the most glaring, would be the fact that I am a total control freak. I am ridiculous. I love being in control. I love things being in my court. And I like to drive. I like to be the boss. I like to be in charge. And it's not because I think I'm good at it. It's just because I'm uncomfortable if you do it. And it's not that I think you're bad at it. It's just you're not me, and I want to be in control of my own fate. Let me do it. I think some of this is, am I naturally a control freak? Probably a little bit, but I would say that a lot of this has been learned and developed over time, and I worked at a high-pressure job where I would get in trouble and yelled at for things that I didn't do. And so I'm like, if my booty is on the line, I don't want you determining, because I'm feeling like you don't care if I get yelled at. You're not vested in this. I am. I'm tired of getting yelled at. So I just started becoming, it was a joke. It was a kind of joke around the office. Chris is the hat collector. He collects hats. So responsibilities, I would just collect them. Like, oh, you're in charge of that now too. Yep. Took that too. I just started grandfathering in everything, just like Galactus. No nerds here. Okay, that's all right. Marvel comics. So I am a control freak, and I think maybe it's the best thing about this moment in time is not that I'm less of a control freak than I have been in the past. The best part of this moment in time is that I can admit to you that I am a control freak. I think that's the best, that's the most growth I've experienced, is that I can say it. I can acknowledge, I can see it now. I can't change it, but I can see it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I'm probably not the only one here that likes being in control. I'm probably not the only one here that loses sleep when you realize something is not within your realm of control. I'm probably not the only person here that stresses out when you don't know what's going to happen. You're not aware of the outcome, and you're trying to figure out contingency plans, what ifs, strategies like that. If you live in that place, it's because we like being in control. We just do. Every topic that Solomon's brought up, which has been a lot. I mean, he's brought up a lot of things already, and we just got to chapter 3. He's brought up a lot of subjects, and everything that he's mentioned in the last 2 chapters has really been ways in which we try to make our lives better by controlling them. If I get more wisdom, then I can make things different. If I get more wealth, I can make things different. If I work harder, if I work a different job, these are all ways that we try to control our life and make it what we think it should be. And maybe that's the summary of everything we've talked about. It's the vanity of perceived control. The vanity of perceived control. If I just knew more, if I just had more, if I just did more, I can make this life different. It's a complicated issue, our addiction to control. But it has a simple explanation. I heard someone say last week, if you ask yourself enough questions, you'll get to the place where you need to be. Why do I do that? Why is that important to me? Keep asking the questions. So why am I a control freak? Well, that leads me to the question, why is control so important to me? So if you follow that very self-reflective, I think, and humble train of thought, I think you get to a place where you realize, ultimately, why I need control and why I'm so addicted to control, and I like controlling things and people. We do that too. You realize Christians are the worst of that. If you would stop sinning, I would feel comfortable. What does that have to do with you? Because God is judging me for how I change you. That's not in here. The reason we are addicted to control is this, because faith is hard. Chris, you just oversimplified that. I know, isn't it great? Faith is hard. Why do we love control? Because faith is hard. Believers are meant to live and walk by faith, and that is excruciatingly hard. Faith is kind of the opposite of control. Faith is saying, God, you have it, and I trust that, as opposed to, God, can I have it? I'll take care. You got a lot on your plate, Abba, Father. I got it. That's kind of what the Israelites did, isn't it? Wandering around in the wilderness. They're like, God, following you around is uncomfortable. Trusting you for this miracle food that we step in every morning, not my favorite thing. Not knowing where we're going or if we're going to live, I don't like it. Can we be the captains of our own soul, please? And he obliged. He said, okay, well, if you're going to do that, here's the law. This is how you control your own destiny. And then it took us a while, but we realized, yeah, we can't do that either. There's a great movie called Bruce Almighty. Have you guys seen that? Jim Carrey. Yeah, it's really good. And so basically, it's a guy getting to a place where he's like, God is doing nothing, and I could do this better. So he wishes to be God. He's like, let me have it. And at first, he's partying his soup and making traffic. It's just all these things that he's doing that's the power is addictive. But then as these prayer requests come in, he's like, oh my God, I can't do this. He realized that control is not something that he's built for. There's a beautiful psalm, Psalm 46, that encourages us to be still and know that he is God. To be still in another translation says cease striving. I would put it this way, just put it down. Stop, put it down, drop it, stop. Cease striving and know that he is God. And that is to say, we're not. To understand that he's God and I'm not. He's in control and I'm not. I read this quote not long ago about this verse, and the person said, maybe you can't get to the know God part until you get the be still part down. Maybe those things are intrinsically linked. They're said together because you need them both. So to know who God is, you kind of have to stop, cease striving. And that's actually the order that we're stop. Know he's God. Learning to trust is not easy. I think we're always going to be more comfortable with the ball in our court. We just are. Which is understandable. I get that, and I understand why that is. And I think that addiction that we have to control is not an indication that we're bad people. It just means we're human beings, that we have a pulse. In fact, I'll put it this way. I think we're control freaks because we care what happens. And you can't say that's bad. Like, you can't put a negative to that. I care about the outcome. Well, you're a horrible person then. That's not right. Walking and living by faith happens only in this instance. As we're persuaded that the one who is in control loves me and loves the people that I love more than I do. That's the only way it happens. The best description of faith, or the best definition that I've heard, is this one. Faith is divine persuasion. Just, it's simple, divine persuasion. You've been persuaded by the divine. God's won you over. That's the only, faith doesn't come, it's not a mental exercise. Faith is not something that you can just acquire mentally. It's not a feeling. If it were a feeling, none of us would have faith ever. Faith is to be persuaded. It's to be won over. It's to be convinced. It's to be overcome. It's to be wrestled out of control to where we're like, you got it. And you know what? Faith doesn't work well all the time. Your faith probably feels like it's the ice cream machine at McDonald's. Rarely working. That was a great analogy, Chris. Thank you, Chris. I just came up with it, too. I was so excited. They got the grown-up Happy Meal now. I was like, yes! You're talking my life. I haven't been to McDonald's in forever. And I was like, I'm going because they got a grown-up Happy Meal, and they give me things. And they give you a mystery shake. So I went to McDonald's all excited. I was like, give me the $14 grown-up Happy Meal, please. And they said, sorry, sir, the shake machine's broken. Jesus, take the wheel. Anyway, it would be working if I was in control. Sorry, this is silly. I think we can probably identify with the father that encounters Jesus where he says, I believe, but help my unbelief. Like at the same time, faith is there, but it's not, is it working? I don't know. It's a difficult thing to navigate, and really, that's not even the point. I think we get so caught up on the subject of our faith that we lose sight of the object of our faith, which is the bigger issue here. It's a bigger consideration. It's not, am I faithing good? It's who's your faith in? Where's your faith aimed? Where do you put the lion's share of the weight and the responsibility of your life? Learning to trust is not an easy thing. We learn to live and walk by faith as we're won over and we're convinced Jesus loves me more than I do. He's more vested in me than I am. Now, are there some circumstances and situations right now that, and even people, that we'd love to change? Like today? Absolutely. Are there some things that we would love to change about our lives, about our jobs, about our community? Are there things that we'd like to change about our country? Are there things that we like to change about our world? I think you would be just absolutely sleepwalking through this whole life if you didn't answer that with a yes. This world is broken. Every day we get reminders, big, dramatic, scary reminders that this world is absolutely broken. And I think that it is a good thing that we all feel compelled to want to get involved and change this world. But at the end of the day, are we in control? And I think that's the honesty that Solomon is inspiring here, is to say we need to understand where God's power begins and our ability ends. That He is in control and we are not. Now, that doesn't mean we can't do anything. That doesn't mean we just need to lay back and be inactive. There's nothing about that kind of life that we see painted, the picture painted in Scripture, ever. In fact, Jesus' invitation to find rest is the same exact invitation to come work with Him. Come find rest, work with me. So, no, it doesn't mean being uninvolved. It doesn't mean being disassociated. It simply means that we understand that we are not in control. We can trust Him. And we can trust that He is making everything beautiful in its time. That's what He's doing. That's what He's actively doing. So right now, this might look ugly. This might look scary. This might look wrong. It might look off. It doesn't feel right. I'm going through stuff. It's not right. That does not mean God is blissfully unaware, like He's caught up in binge watching His favorite show on Netflix. He's like, oh, what are you going through? He's actively involved in his promises. I will make everything beautiful in its time. But that in its time part is pretty, as beautiful as it's going to be, this in its time part gets pretty ugly. And that's really the life, right? That's so much of our life spent in that ugly patch of road that is on its way to beautiful, but it's bumpy and rocky and pretty ugly. I think that time frame is exactly what Jesus is talking about when he tells his disciples, in this world you will have trouble. I think that's what he's talking about. The patch of road between now and beautiful is ugly. I wanted to share one more verse that God popped in my heart this week. And at first I didn't really see the association. And that's usually how it goes. God has to wrestle me down because I'm in control. I'm writing this thing, God. Can you leave me alone? I'm writing this for you, man. And then he's like, just scooch over. Drink your pumpkin spice and let Jesus take the wheel. Carrie Underwood. That's dumb. Mark chapter 4. Mark chapter 4, I think, encapsulates this in-between time that we live in so often. Mark 4, this is verses 35 through 41. Then we're going to kind of sneak into Mark 5. This is how it goes. It was evening of that same day, and Jesus said to his disciples, hey, let's go to the other side. And then after sending the people away, they took Jesus with them in a boat. It was the same boat he used when he taught them. He preached from a boat. He made an amphitheater, so his podium was a boat at one point. And then other little boats went along with them, and a bad windstorm came up. And then the waves were coming over the side of the boat, and the boat was filling up with water. Jesus was in the back part of the boat, sleeping on a pillow. And they woke him up. They were crying out, Teacher, do you not care that we're about to die? He got up, and he spoke sharp words to the wind. I love that. Like he got in the wind's face, like, hey, cut it out. And he said to the sea, be quiet, be still. At once the wind stopped blowing. There were no more waves. And he said to his followers, and this is interesting to me, why are you so full of fear? Waves? Storms? And he says, do not have faith. They were very much afraid. They said to each other, who's this? Even the wind and the waves obey him. Sneak into Mark 5, first verse. This is what it says. Jesus and his followers came to the other side of the sea, to the country of Gerasenes. This is a beautiful story that we're probably familiar with, where his disciples are freaking out because all they know is that storms are bigger than me and they kill people. And this is not good. And we're in this little bitty boat and we do not stand a chance. And here's Jesus just curled up, sawing logs, counting sheep, and unbothered. And if he's unbothered, their assumption is that he's unaware. So they wake him up. And they're like, we're dying, and you're doing nothing. You're snoring. And his response is, well, he calms everything. He's like, okay, enough. But then he speaks to their hearts. And he says, I'm in your boat, though. You have me. And that's the logic, right? If Jesus is in your boat, you're probably fine. I mean, even if God hates your guts, he likes him. I would just, I just curl up over there with him. Can I scooch over? There is a phenomenon when you have children, and it is just unbearable. Are we there yet? Okay. Are we there? Is the car moving? Are we still driving? Then we're not there yet. We're there when we're there. Are we there yet? Are you out of the car standing on the ground? No. You're sitting in a moving vehicle. You're not there yet. I say it as if I didn't do it. I still do it to my wife. I do that to my GPS all the time. I'm like, are we there yet? No. But we always kind of feel that way. Like, are we there yet? Are we where we want to be yet? Because there's this thing inside our brains. I don't want to be here. I don't like here. So we always live for there. Our brain's there, our heart's there, our emotions are there, our dreams are there. I don't like here. Here sucks. Here is excruciating. I just wish there. But eventually there becomes here, which is ironic, and then we're equally dissatisfied with here as we were before when it was then, there then. But we're never happy in here. We're always looking for there. But there's a point in time where here is especially stressful, and here is especially difficult, and here is especially painful, where we feel like these guys, I think we're about to die. Like, this is it. This is the worst. And it sounds like hyperbole when they say it. It sounds dramatic, but put yourself in their sandals, you'd feel the same way. And we overreact. I shouldn't say overreact. We react in a big way to things that other people from the outside might even trivialize and say, that's nothing. I went through that 3 weeks ago. Oh, your car blew up? Just a car. I'm like, okay, I still was paying on that one. Back to Ecclesiastes 3. For everything, there's a season. It means there's a time for here and a time for there. There's a time from now, there's a time for then. Jesus' disciples had a realization that this here is scary and painful. But then it was met immediately by the comfort of Him. The now, the here was met by Him. And so they asked the question, who is this? Who even is this? The wind and the waves obey Him. In other words, He is bigger than all the storms, all the problems that we're facing. The storm's bigger than me, but Jesus is bigger than the storm. In this world you have trouble, but take heart, He's overcome it. He's bigger than it all. We'll make it there in due time. We'll make it there, and it will be beautiful in its time. But we're not there yet. But even in the now, even in the here, He's with you every step of the way. I'll close with this. In the middle of the storm, Jesus says, be still. Now, He's talking to the winds and the waves, but ultimately, more importantly, He's talking to their hearts. He's talking to their souls. He's speaking to their minds. He's calming the storm inside of them because they let the storm get on the inside. And His immediate question is, where's your faith? Be still and know that I'm God. And it's in the being still and knowing that He is God that we find grace and help in our time of need. We're not in control. None of us are. Every sense of control that we have is an illusion. Every moment where we feel like we're in the driver's seat, it's just an illusion. Because at the end of the day, like that, control can be completely gone, and you realize it was never yours in the first place. Faith is an interesting thing. It comes through tough stuff. It's fortified and it's realized when you need it. And when you need it is when you don't have control. I have to trust God because I have no other recourse. This is why the Bible says that His strength is perfected in weakness, because in your weakness is where you need the most faith, where you're in the least control, where you have to trust. So the bad news for a lot of us is we're just not in control. We aren't. We might feel like it sometimes that we are. We might pretend like it is. We might work hard to be in control. But at the end of the day, what control do we really have? That's the bad news for a lot of us. But the good news is this. The one who is in control loves you more than you do. Loves your loved ones more than you do. Is more vested in your life than you are. So if anyone's going to be in control of your life, you want it to be the person who cares about your life the most, and that's exactly who's in control. He promises to make everything beautiful in its time, and he always keeps his promise. He will make everything beautiful in its time. I want to pray, if you would, just bow your heads and close your eyes.